Adderall, the famous study drug, the clean your entire house drug, the dopamine drug, the motivation drug, and the drug that some people rely on nowadays simply to function. Adderall is a stimulant. It stays in our systems for about 6 to 8 hours depending on the kind, and activates neurotransmitters in the brain that are responsible for serotonin, norepinephrine, and dopamine. I, Julian, was prescribed Adderall within about 20 minutes of my second session with my psychiatrist, so it's not incredibly difficult to acquire. And when she brought up the name of the drug in conversation for treating my ADHD, she didn't say Adderall. Instead, she said the scientific name, dextroamphetamine. Amphetamines? That's like meth, right? Yes, and no, but also kind of yes. As much as we as a society would love to rationalize this drug being right there next to caffeine, another socially acceptable stimulant, it's really not. Adderall sneaks by. It's not as activating as cocaine, and certainly not as illegal. It's not as mind-altering as a psychedelic, but it still activates the brain in such a profound way. But it's so popular in academic and professional circles that I think we have forgotten where it really comes from. Pervitin, the war drug, specifically the Nazi drug. To fuel his blazing blitzkrieg, Hitler gave his troops a wonder drug, a super drug, a substance that could make them fight for days straight with no rest. Soldiers would stay at machine gun positions for days straight, scanning the horizon. Artillery would fire non-stop. Tank crews would operate for 36 hours straight. These soldiers must have felt invincible, rushing into enemy territory with both the intoxicating effects of crystal meth and Nazism, only later to crash into an exhausted and incredibly painful state. Pervitin was in pill form, 3 milligrams of crystal meth. That was enough, however, to pump their brains full of norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine to stay fighting and remain focused for long periods of time. Hitler himself actually gave it a try. It was addictive and destructive, and ultimately was phased out of legal recreational and military use in Europe by the end of the war. Half a century later, an Adderall becomes approved by the FDA. It's a prescription drug to treat ADHD, attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Is your kid not focusing on school? Are they easily bored? Are they, dare I say, hyper? Well, give them Adderall. Its active ingredient is amphetamine, the same ingredient as crystal meth, minus, chemically, the additional methyl group, which allows meth to pass the blood-brain barrier way more effectively. Adderall affects all the same parts of the brain as crystal meth, just less, and in a less destructive way if taken properly. And the most popular symptom of taking this drug is wakefulness, a slight feeling of euphoria, and most importantly, increased cognitive control. I am currently writing this script on 15 milligrams of XR Adderall. Yes, how ironic. But unless you call Washington Square Park a battlefield, I'm not rushing into any war zones. The point being, Adderall is the little brother of Pervitin, or crystal meth. And every time I want to get an assignment done earlier or quicker, or now, without procrastinating, I have this drug. This totally legal, totally socially acceptable, prescribed drug that is a version of meth made just for me. And every time I take it, I sometimes realize that I'm feeling a percentage of what it must be like to do meth. But there's no crash, there's no headaches, there's a very little loss in appetite for me personally. But there is one thing that I feel is the common denominator for amphetamines and most stimulants. The feeling that someone else just did that. The feeling that someone else just fought that battle. Someone else just wrote that essay. Someone else, not me. This video is a warning, but more a personal message to all of you. It's okay to be lazy. It's okay to procrastinate. It's okay to not want to do all this stuff every day. The important thing is to understand that usually the source of all that is just fear. So don't treat this symptom don't do what I did. Treat the cause. Sit down, take a deep breath. Remember why you're doing this. Why are you here? What do you love about this? Focus on that. Thank you for watching.